Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rebecca. So we have been talking a lot lately about preparedness, being prepared in case of an emergency or food shortages or things that may happen with the government. And so to stick with that theme, I wanted to talk to you today about the top 15 items that are most likely to disappear from store shelves in case of an emergency. So I have done my own research. I asked my closest friends and family, and I've also done some research online to see what national studies say about the top things that are likely to disappear from store shelves in the event that there is an emergency and people are going to grab food to stockpile before said emergency. Things like weather and stuff like that. So I want to go over the results of my research today and give you the top 15 items that I found are most likely to disappear from store shelves. The top item that came in on my list was water. So along with the people that I surveyed and the surveys that I took a look at online, water was the number one item that people are going to grab in case of an emergency. So this is obviously something that you're going to want to have on hand. Number one on my list. And also, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, FEMA recommends at least 2 weeks of food and water storage in the event that there is an emergency. Along with FEMA's recommendation of 2 weeks of food and water, they also say that you should have 1 gallon of water per person per day, half a gallon for drinking and half a gallon for hygiene purposes. So always make sure that you're stocked up on this. And actually, my husband and I lie. My husband did the math the other day of how much water that you should have for our family, so we're a family of 4, and based off of FEMA guidelines, and I don't remember off the top of my head, and I could go calculate it, but I'm just not going to. But he did the calculation, and it was a lot of water. Actually, a lot more water than we have right now. So I am behind. I need to stock up on more water. This one I actually just bought at my last trip to the grocery store when I was noticing that there were some empty shelves. So always make sure that you have water on hand in case of an emergency. The number 2 item on my list is toilet paper. And we all remember the toilet paper shortage of 2020 when the pandemic hit. So you always want to make sure that you have toilet paper in your house, obviously. So this was number 2 on my list of people that I surveyed. And this also obviously came up a lot in national surveys of things that people are grabbing when they are running to the store in case of an emergency. Obviously, you don't want to be left without toilet paper. So this is number 2. Make sure you always have extra. I had a 5-way tie for the number 3 top item that my friends and family are going to go buy. So this is just the number 3 based on what my friends and family do. Obviously, whatever works for you, works for you. But this was the list that I came up with. So tied for 3rd place, we had canned goods. Things like fruits, vegetables, canned meats, things that are going to last a while. People are going and they're stocking up on those in case of an emergency. And also, I think goes without saying, bread. You know, people always say bread and milk is the first thing to go when there's an emergency. So bread, and along with that is peanut butter and jelly, obviously. I don't know anyone who doesn't like a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whether you're a child or an elderly person or anyone in between. Everyone loves peanut butter and jelly. It's sustainable and it's gonna last you a while. Plus, I looked it up. Bread can last in the freezer for up to about 6 months. So just grab an extra one when you're at the store one day, pop it in the freezer, and you always have one on hand in case you need it. The next thing on the list was snacks. So these are just some of the snacks that we have in our house. Obviously, you know, whatever you like, you're gonna grab. But snacks was very high on the list of things that people are going to buy in case of an emergency. And the last thing that was tied for 3rd place was batteries. So everybody obviously needs to have batteries on hand in case of an emergency. You're out of power, you need a flashlight, things like that. So these were the top 5 items of and I'm grouping peanut butter and jelly together. These were the top 5 items that tied for number 3 of people that I surveyed that they're always going to go grab first and have on hand. So the next item on the list is milk, and like I said, it goes without saying, whenever there's at least a snow emergency, because that's really the only kind of weather emergency that we have in my area, people are always going to the store and they're buying bread and milk. We don't drink a whole lot of milk in our family. We do actually happen to have some at the moment. Normally we don't have cow's milk. Normally we are drinking almond milk, but some form of milk you want to have in case of an emergency. And along with that is eggs. So you can do so many things with eggs, right? So I always have extra eggs on hand, and they last for quite a long time. So grab yourself some eggs in case of an emergency. So what goes better with milk than cereal, right? Like, I also don't know anybody who doesn't love a good bowl of cereal. So if you've got yourself some milk and some cereal and some PB&J and some bread, you're pretty much good to go, right? So always have some cereal on hand. I have kids, so we always have cereal. And honestly, on nights that no one is home and I don't feel like cooking dinner, I eat myself a bowl of cereal. The next items on the list that are most likely to disappear from store shelves during an emergency are frozen foods. So I have some ravioli and some corn here that I have in my freezer. Frozen foods, these are going to last you a very long time, and in a pinch, they're really mostly pretty easy to throw a meal together. So grab yourself some frozen foods just to have on hand in case of an emergency. The next 2 items on the list, which I am putting them together. Some people don't use creamer, but a lot of people that I surveyed said that coffee is one of the top items that they would like to have on hand. So we always have extra coffee on hand, and I have found, I don't know what's going on lately, but it is really hard to find 0 sugar coffee creamer in the kind that we drink. I don't like the kind that has sugar in it. I don't like the way it tastes. And so finding the big jugs of them has been really difficult. They're never at our local grocery store. So I'm always having to buy the smaller ones of these. So I'm not sure what's up with that shortage that's happening, or if people are just going to buy them all up before I'm getting there. But I never had this problem before the pandemic. And now all of a sudden, this is just like one of the weird items that I can never find. One of the next items on the list that people are most likely to grab in an emergency is over-the-counter medications. And along with that, I know I've said in one of my other videos that make sure you have refills of your prescriptions on hand. Obviously, you cannot stock up on these. The pharmacy does not. That's not something that you're allowed to do. But make sure that if you need a refill that needs to be approved by your doctor, that you have that on hand, so that if you do need one of your medications, you can just call the pharmacy and get it. So over-the-counter meds is one of them, and another one that was really specialized based on your family is insulin. So if you have someone that is insulin dependent, you want to make sure that you have enough of that on hand in case of an emergency. The next items that are on the list that people are most likely to purchase in case of an emergency are personal hygiene items. So things like soap, things like wipes, cleaners, feminine hygiene products. These are all things that people are going to want to make sure that they have on hand, and you should have them on hand too in case you're late to the store and they happen to fly off the shelves. The last item that I have on my list is pet food. So obviously pets are members of our family too, and we want to make sure that we're prepared so that they have something to eat as well. So we always keep pet food stocked. Our cats go through this canned food so fast, so it seems like it's always very hard to keep stock. And this is one of the other items that I found not so much recently, but a couple months ago, like the pet food shelves were pretty empty. And same thing with like kitty litter. We have cats, so buying kitty litter still today is difficult to do. If you're looking for a specific brand, I have found that there's just a supply issue with things like that. So you always want to make sure that you have these things on hand for your pets as well. So this is the list of top 15 items that I found, but obviously this is not an exhaustive list. So there are several other things that people mentioned, things like having propane on hand, having meat, flour, sugar, butter, all things like that that are pretty much seem to be staples in people's homes that they're going to want to grab and have on hand in case of an emergency, and also in case of a food shortage, right? I am blessed enough that I have all of these things on hand, and I just had to go grab them from all the different nooks and crannies that I keep them in my house. I also like to keep backups of all of these things. So I don't see any harm in picking up 1 or 2 extras of any of these items just to make sure you have them on hand in case of that weather emergency, governmental emergency, shutdowns, mandates, food shortages, whatever the case may be. You want to be prepared, right? And so these are just a few of the items that you can keep on hand because they are most likely to fly off the shelves when there is an emergency, and you want to be prepared for you and your family. So what did I miss? What are food items or other items that you keep on hand or would be first to buy in case of an emergency? I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you found value in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Next. Oh my god. Why is that blinking? I don't like that. The next items that people are most likely to buy in emergency are go on.